Subjects should feel important. The first rule of the sovereign. Try to be personally present in the new possessions. The proximity of the ruler will allow residents to feel their own importance and at the same time scare away enemies. If you cannot come yourself, send your subjects. So the new subjects will get used to the way of life of your people and begin to adapt. The second rule. Always take measures to eliminate potential competitors. Protect the weak leaders around the new possessions. They will be happy to join you. Your alliance can become strong enough to challenge powerful states that may threaten your power. The third rule. Be alert to future threats. The disease is easier to cure at the beginning, so it is easier to stop rivals at their first onset. The state is either easy to conquer but difficult to govern, or difficult to conquer but easy to govern. The ruler-baron system. Example, in France, the king ruled the country through many nobles with a personal interest. Such an unstable system leads to fragmentation of the state. Occasionally, barons can even challenge the king's authority. A country with such a system is easy to conquer. It is enough to lure a few barons to your side, but in the future, you will get into the same trouble as your predecessor. Ruler-servant relationship. The sovereign begins his reign by eliminating people with political ambitions. Only those who sincerely support the ruler and his plans remain. This creates a cohesive state that provides tough resistance to the invaders during the invasion. Atrocity and popular support will help you become a sovereign. Wickedness is one of the ways to gain power. Cunning and ruthlessness will help to gain control over the state. But cruelty only works when applied correctly. Cruelty must be swift. Strike one merciless blow. At first, the people will be very outraged. Gradually reduce the amount of violence, thereby calming the population. Conversely, excessive decency at the beginning of the government and a gradual increase in cruelty is not a reasonable tactic. Power can also be gained by protecting citizens and gaining their support. You need to help people become well off enough that they want to support you. Sufficient security depends on what people are used to. The main goal is to make citizens feel indebted. If that happens, they will keep you in power, even if you have to endure hardships. When people are in power through terror, they don't feel indebted. Violence is easier to gain power, but power based on the support of the population is more stable. The army of the state should consist of its citizens. Mercenaries, that is, independent troops fighting only for money, are useless. They are not interested in the survival of the state, so they can run away in battle if they feel that it is not worth dying for money. Mercenaries will rob you in peacetime, and in war they will allow your opponent to do the same. And even if you are lucky enough to find a capable mercenary commander willing to fight for you, sooner or later he will realize that he can easily overthrow you. Another mistake is to rely on allied auxiliary troops. As soon as foreign troops enter your land, you risk never getting rid of them. You will lose by relying on auxiliary troops. If they are defeated, your state will fall, and if they win, they will stay and enslave you. The only way to protect the country is to create an army of its own citizens. Subjects expect certain behavior from their ruler. Personal traits, such as politeness or generosity, are important for the stability of the state. At the same time, the qualities that are positive for an ordinary citizen may not be those for the sovereign. A generous person is loved by everyone, but if the ruler, striving for such a reputation, starts spending everything that you can afford, people will quickly get used to it. We will have to constantly shower citizens with gifts, which will quickly drain the treasury. It will be necessary to increase the tax burden which will negate all the benefits of generosity. To be a successful sovereign, you need to balance generosity and greed. Be generous to gain power, especially in states where citizens can choose the ruler. But after becoming a sovereign, show stinginess and gradually increase expenses in order to strengthen popularity without getting into financial trouble. A successful sovereign can use cruelty to his advantage. Every sovereign wants to look merciful and just, but in order to maintain power and unite citizens, he must inspire awe. It is better for a ruler to be feared rather than loved. We all know that promises based on love are constantly broken, so an overly merciful sovereign can be used for someone's own interests. But the fear of severe punishment will always serve as a deterrent. And isn't it merciful to provide security by severely punishing lawbreakers? Cruelty is especially effective in army management. Soldiers admire a certain degree of malice and recognize that it is necessary for discipline. Use cruelty to your advantage, but do not go too far so as not to arouse the hatred of citizens. The best way is to make them satisfied and somewhat fearful. No one can be a jack of all trades. The way the ruler recruits advisors and works with them speaks to his leadership abilities. The quality of the advisors depends only on the sovereign. You know better in which areas you lack knowledge, so you need to choose the right advisors and ministers wisely. Having made up your mind, maintain good relations with the ministers so that they serve your interests. But keep an eye on them all the time. If you see someone acting for their own benefit, fire them immediately. Those who serve you faithfully should receive generous remuneration, enough so as not to provoke them into intrigues behind your back. Also, the sovereign should be able to ask for advice. Advisors should know that you value honest opinions and will not punish them for the truth. Otherwise, you will hear only deceptive flattery or embellished truth. If a person does not want to talk, then he is clearly trying to hide something. Great deeds were done by those sovereigns who knew how to fool people with their tricks. It is commendable for a sovereign to keep his word, but experience shows that sovereigns who cared little about this word prevailed over those who relied on honesty. Remember that the lion's strength is good, but the fox's cunning is no less important.